You need to realize you're not going to lose anything sending a message. In the end of the day, the worst case scenarios is that you get a block and you never get to see him again.
All right, so what do we have here? This is the 5th episode of the Firefly show. The theme really is to get people who have been getting jobs without applying for jobs to tell us how it all come together and what was their teaming experience. Today, after a bit of scouting, I finally found the first pair that I think have a really interesting story to share.
When people say we don't hire, it's not true.
And so basically, I did everything I can to fill in almost every job application that I can find and every company that I can contact. And literally at the end, I was starting to find like Hong Kong startups. Creation, I think it was pretty interesting. And I directed message Aurelian. He seems interested. And so I contacted him saying, hey, these are my feedback on creation. And so that's where it started. And I got an internship from Aurelian.
When you got that message, what was on your mind?
So I was not necessarily looking for an intern, but as I mentioned, you're always looking for talent, right? If you're good enough and you're very valuable potentially, of course the door is open, especially for small startups. But you have to show that you can bring value. And my first impression was, hey, there's something, right? He's actually smart, knows how to think. There's some meat.
You can share the screenshot with us offline, and then we can kind of inspire people, right? Because I think that the thing I hear so often was, Katie, I don't know how to add value to someone's team, or I don't know what to say to someone. What would you say to those people right now thinking, should I message Aurelian?
Very simple. Keep it short. Say one thing that is valuable. And it could be something as stupid as, hey, I found a typo on your website.
I've done that before.
It's working. Like, it means you check the website carefully enough to actually spot a mistake. You already brought value. Now I'm going to fix it, right? Now, don't check my website. There's no typo.
No, let's go and check his website and find all the typos. You have 1 week to do that.
Yes.
Or find a competitor. Like this one actually usually work very well. Say, hey, is this company a competitor of yours, right? It means you understand the market, and maybe it's a competitor I've never seen before, right? That's.
Hey, Howie, could you tell me a little bit more about Elephants Inc.?
Sure, Key. Think of us as a CFO that you will never need to hire. We handle the messy stuff, numbers, insights, giving you clarity for you to focus on what really matters, growing your business.
For startups, do you just message them, cold email them on LinkedIn?
I think you need to know what you want and what are the company actually looking for. You know, startups are always a small team, like founded by 6 to 8 people. It's really easy for you to directly message them rather than going to a big corporate and, passing the screen test, go through HR, and then finally get to meet your seniors.
This is the guy that you should be listening to. If you're currently struggling with this issue, I think you should reshape your approach. What would you say to them if they're currently thinking, should I press that send button of this value creation message?
You need to realize you're not going to lose anything sending a message. In the end of the day, the worst case scenarios is that you get a block and you never get to see him again. And if you send through a message, maybe in 1 out of 100, a founder message you back, say, hey, he's interested, then you're on board, right? It's never too late or be afraid of sending messages, because in the worst case scenario, you're not losing anything.
Let's give him a round of applause. And when you were looking for internship, what was your top 2 motivation?
Exposure, experience, and skills is the thing you need, rather than looking good on your CV. And so I started searching for,
Someone's calling him for a job, maybe. You never know. Take it if you have an offer.
So I start searching up on startup companies because they are small teams. The smaller the team you have, the bigger the responsibility that you have. The more exposure that you get. And so that's why I went to a startup instead. When I'm a U1 student, I could only print out paperwork, day-to-day management, these kind of small stuff, rather than upholding a project and stuff.
Did he print stuff like yours?
We don't have printers. Now you know why I hired him, because he knows how to think and is a little bit different, right?
Yep.
You get someone excited about a startup with nobody knows the name, right? On your CV, right? It was, what is this company, right? But at least he can tell about all the things he done, right? He learned a lot of things, which is probably more valuable, especially when you're young.
What was one thing that ever since you guys started working together that you'd be like, wow, I didn't even see this coming from him?
There are a few things that he did that I didn't expect him to do. And I can tell you how valuable is performance was, because some of the thing he did is still going on in the company. It's funny because it was actually not the reason we hired him in the first place. He was supposed to join for kind of, business dev, sales, like market, a little bit of everything. But he actually helped us save a lot of money with our custom port system. We ditched intercom because it's like $500 per month. He actually set up Chatwood on the private cloud on Azure. So you look at the documentation, ChatGPT. I actually have no clue how they did it, but it's working, and we save a lot of money, and it's still going on. So that means it's super valuable internship, right? So that's one thing. The second thing is we actually switched to NN8, like the open source model. Same thing on a virtual machine, Azure. Probably never done it before.
Is that true? Have you done it before?
No, I have not.
So how did you learn on the job and like think that, oh, this is something that I can possibly learn right now and actually get it rolling?
When you first started out as a job, everything is new to you and you have to learn as the day goes, right? And so first instinct is, of course, go to ChatGPT. And the second thing is you have to know like what you want to do. Hey, if I want to do these stuffs, for example, open a virtual machine, set up a field website, right? You need to know that you want to set up a website at first and then learn the skill afterwards. So first thing first is I want to know what I want to achieve in creation, right? And then afterwards, I go to ChatGPT, I go to Google search, learn every single skills that might help me in the process and start learning it.
What did school teach you so far, let's say in preparation of this internship?
Right. Well, in short, basically nothing.
I was expecting this. I would have been surprised with a different answer.
I mean, firstly, I'm a year one student, right? So they're teaching me very fundamental stuff that's not very applicable to the job market. And secondly, whether they're teaching, finance stuff, right? When we talked about like going to an iBank industry, you're not actually, iBank people won't actually consider you just because you take finance courses. Because, when you want to get to a point where a skills is very applicable, you have to go to master's degree or even PhD in order to get a bit more in-depth insight and skills about it. And so with bachelor degree, the experience and the lesson that you are taking is not really helping to you. But when you get into the company, after like a week or two or maybe a month, you basically learn everything. And so soft skills and the fact that you want to learn and being smart is the most important thing that a company values. And so, school didn't taught me much, but then it helps me on, GPA looks good. That's when you're considering a university. Network is the utmost thing that you should consider when you're comparing a student from NUS, right? And compare it to Caltech, Yale, people from Stern, right? NYU. You basically want to have the network, even if he doesn't have the skills, he has the people, he knows a lot of smart people that he can reach out to. This is the most important thing that when choosing a university rather than anything.
The only thing I really look for is the person resourceful, right? And I think this is the key. And actually, I wouldn't, we joke about the fact that in uni you don't learn, but university, they give you one skill is learning how to learn, which is, we don't realize because it's not something tangible, right? But you are able to learn new things because you've learned for 5 years, 3 years, right, at uni, right? And even if what you learn is, like math, economics, is not going to be so much applicable, you have this process of, taking notes and watching some videos, taking some courses online. And this is the most important, is I really like this term, is knowledge just in time rather than knowledge just in case, right? And now things are moving so fast that if you learn something today, because maybe in 2 years you're going to use it, 2 years you forgot about it, right? But if you're able to learn quickly, then you're so valuable, right? There's a new model, there's a new tool, boom. You are so valuable in a company if you can learn so fast, right? And teaching others.
Started working together. What was one thing that was, I didn't expect that of him? Like
Aurelian always sends a very detailed text messages across the channel because he wants to get everyone on pace of what he's looking for, what he is trying to do. And so every single morning, maybe like 10 a.m. or something like that, he sends like 300 text paragraph saying, hey, here's the bullet point that I want to do. Here's the journey that we're going to take. And he makes sure that everyone understands. And so we can add on, continue to add value, ask meaningful question that helps them. So that's really one thing that I was really impressed about, and that he's pretty meticulous and well planned.
Maybe not the impressive bit. Was that one bit that you found, oh, like that's so annoying of him?
But just to complement what you just said, it's because we are a remote company, so I have to document, right? Or even over document, right? So if we were a company where everybody's sitting in an office, where you have a lot of informal communication, you don't have to write, overwriting stuff, right? So
Was that 300 characters or 300 lines?
I don't know. I don't think I'm writing that much. But
I don't think that, ugh.
yeah, please. We need some feedback as well. Yeah.
Not necessarily a bad thing, just a preference thing, but I've always preferred to work on site, you know, because it gives me a lot more concentration. I can be more focused on work. It's easier to talk to my colleagues and stuff. And creation, it's a remote company, as you guys know. And that makes communicating a bit harder, as you cannot, you know, like just run up to his desk or office and say, hey, I've got this problem, and say, hey, I got this suggestion. And with, you know, being a remote company, you barely see your other colleagues. So some members of the team, I've never seen him. And, you know, that's something that concerns me.
Yeah. I mean,
Okay, how are you going to address that
no,
problem?
but it's totally understandable. And actually, I would recommend young people, for internship or even entry-level jobs, don't join a remote company. Because it's true, you need to meet people, you need to go out, you need to meet people, build a relationship, right? And when you are, 5,000 kilometers apart and 10 hours time difference, of course, you're not going to build the same type of relationship, or it takes longer, right? But Tommy happened to live very, very far. And I was actually traveling because initially I was like, maybe I'm going to get an office and we can meet like maybe twice a week or something. But because he lived very far and I was planning on traveling for almost 2 months, like, what's the point, right?
Creation AI. Can you give us like a very simple explanation of what you do?
Very simple. B2B sales, you need to find the right customer, right? So you go online, you try to find B2B companies that fit your ICP, your ideal customer profile. And usually it's a lot of research, manual playing with spreadsheets. And we have an AI agent that do the entire process, building and updating your custom database of leads. That's it.
Does that
Right? So we're not going to be a 100 billion unicorn. That's not the goal. The goal is to build a good company that make real cash, right? The problem is massive, right? 70% of the economy is actually B2B. People don't realize, but most of the economy is a business selling to another business, right? Now, some businesses, they have a very niche market, right? Very, very specific. And when you go to mainstream database, and 30 years ago we had the yellow page, right? But the yellow pages, you don't have all the filters you want to really go quickly to a small list, right? And right now with the mainstream database, it's the same problem. You have the same standard filters: industry, location, revenue, size of the company, but it's not really telling you what they do, how they do it, right? So what we have at Curation is we have the ability to let you create your own custom filters, right? I'll give you a few examples. Let's say you are an insurance company, but only for digital nomad. So you want to find remote companies. A remote company is not a filter anywhere on the web, right? So how do you do that? Usually you use intern, right? You have 5 summer interns to build a database, and once the interns are gone, then you have a spreadsheet that is not up to date, right? And it's going to just die, right? Now, let's say you want to find, you are doing a podcast, you only want to find the female entrepreneurs in Hong Kong. You go on LinkedIn, gender is not a filter. Silly, right? And actually you can go on and on. You can create like 1,000 filters, right? Now, those mainstream database, they will not create those filters because otherwise you can imagine the interface. It would be like mission control. You have like so many buttons, right? It's just a madness, right? So that's the problem we solve.
And you charge a fee for the service that you provide, I presume, right?
Yeah, we're not a charity. Yes. So it's a subscription. Like it's an AI agent, similar to SaaS. You pay a monthly fee. You have some credits, and you have people who actually need a very large database, so they pay more money. Right? It could be like $50,000 a year. And then you got people who actually need a small list. It's $150 per month. So it's really all type of budget. Yeah. But you have a few applications. You got people who use it to find a job, or sometimes it's B2C, but it's actually you can use it for B2B. I had like one customer who used our technology to find people. I think I mentioned it to you. You'll see the type of filters we have. There's a guy who is trying to find professional to sell him some suits, custom-made suits, and he's using our technology to find people on LinkedIn that are lawyers, bankers, who are not wearing a suit on their profile picture. Right, so scrapping the profile picture using a vision model, So those are the type of thing we can do, and that's B2C.
So watch out if you're not wearing a suit because you might get a DM from that guy. Brilliant. What is a challenge or what is an opportunity that you see on your team right now for curation?
So we have a very strong team on the engineering side, data science, full stack. Now it's about growing, so marketing growth. Anyone who has some energy and want to contribute, we're open.
Have you done any business development before this?
No, because this is my first internship.
What do you think? If you were looking for a business development person, doesn't matter if it's intern or not, what would be helpful to the team?
So someone who can bring new ideas and show me they can actually deliver without too much of my time, right? So of course, I want to give feedback, but the ability to open a new channel and get something going, that's super valuable. Now, just to get back on the scope of work, after a few days, few weeks, I realized that actually it can be more valuable on other stuff. And you give some task and you see what the person is giving you back, right? And based on that, it's a bit like when you're a coach for sport, right? You have a striker, maybe the person can actually play middle field, right? But you don't know, you haven't tried the person, right? But my role as the manager of the team is to see where people can fit better, right? So I don't really like this is the job description, or I didn't sign for that contract. Like, I'm a salesperson, so I don't only do sales. No, hell no, right? Actually, back in the day, for some interviews, I was asking people to do things that clearly was actually not. For instance, please design me a logo, but that was actually marketing, tech person, or just to see how they react. Because I really hate when people say, "Oh, I didn't sign for that." We're a startup, right? If you have to, I ask you to help me with the mugs, right? And it's not really, it was not in the job description, right? Help with merchandising. It's just,
When you were asked to kind of think about the mug thing, what was on your mind?
It's advertisement. Similar to business development, there's no harm in doing stuff.
Okay. Would a mug be the most interesting thing you have done? Or what would be the most interesting problem you have solved?
During curation, right?
Yes.
So I think the best experience that I have was actually a project working with engineers to, explore on mainland China. Because, mainland China is actually an untapped area so everyone wants to get into it, know about mainland China company, the market size, anything, and gain valuable information, especially when everything is simplified Chinese and Google Translation isn't really working. And so I was talking to the engineers who's developing the AI, what should be the better prompt, what search engine should we use, what website should we fetch. So it took me a very long time and talking to the engineers back and forth. So that was really insightful for me, especially when you get to know a new market, get to know how AI works, and, get a bit of insight of how engineers actually do that work.
And he saves you some money, right? You were mentioning.
Yeah, with the chat support thing, right? The virtual machines.
Yeah.
But I forgot about this project. Yes, having someone who can speak Chinese is kind of handy, right?
There you go.
So yeah, but you see, when I hired him, I didn't expect that I would need someone who speak Chinese, right? So sometimes you just have someone at disposal, and it's actually good, right? And you see what type of skills they have. When people are smart and they have they're proactive. I think business development, not sales, the business development is something you can actually pick up, right? Because you don't, for instance, coder, like developers, I think would be much harder to actually learn on the job, right? But business development, it's a bit like you can do so many things, right? You can do some research, you can give some feedback, you can work on some landing page. There are a lot of tasks I can come up with that you could actually do, right? Which are part of the business development scope, right? But actually, the reason I give that title is because you need to have a title. But I mean, this is what it is, right? I mean, if I could put like a warrior or startup employee.
How about Firefly?
Firefly. I really don't care about title. I know it's a but titles on come on, like we're a startup. Like as a founder, my day to day is like I do anything that has to be done, right? And employees the same thing. So as I mentioned, interns, the problem for startups is you need to build a team. So if you know someone is going to come for 3 months, if it's final internship, I love it because it's a way to actually test someone and then you make them a full-time job offer after, right? But like for summer internship, 2 months, no, but it was 3 months. So it's like, it's okay. Now, what was your question? Already. So I have a lot of tasks, right? So the question is, how many of those tasks I could potentially delegate to this guy? And after seeing he was proactive and could think, I'm like, yeah, sure. I can actually give a lot of load, right? So that's it, right? And I have a long to-do list. So of course, if I have someone available and I don't, sometimes if it takes me 2 hours to explain someone for a job that would have taken me an hour to do it myself, what's the return on investment, right? But if it's like, hey, Tommy, please help me with this, and I don't have to explain too much, save 2 hours, then it's valuable, right? And I have a lot of tasks, I can give it to him, and then it's done, right? So it's really depending on how resourceful the person is. Yeah.
And also responding to your first question, right? I didn't expect anything because, I was a year one student and I have no experience at all. So any experience is experience. And I'm a firm believer that anyone can learn while you're doing the job. After like 2 or 3 weeks, you must get a brief insight of how you should do things and what you can learn. And so basically, I didn't really care what role I'm getting in. Of course, it's better, one of my passion is actually doing consulting. And so I love to do consulting jobs. I love to work in MBB, but I want to gain some kind of exposure first, get my feet wet on the job market, knowing what to expect in the last, and so I could apply to MBB in year 3 or year 4. So that's basically my mindset.
And I think just to add on, a lot of people think that being a consultant means that you need to have prior consulting experience. I think that's like the way that job descriptions tend to be written, but in a way where I think going forward, if you can have a way to show that you have relevant experience of solving problems, kind of, going around taking the existing resources you have, coming up with something, that in itself is problem solving. And that's the most consultative way of doing things that you can possibly have. So for anyone hearing this thinking that you don't have the experience to apply for a job, well, then maybe you shouldn't apply for a job. You should actually prove that you can do the job by going to the person, solving the actual problem. That's much more valuable than sitting behind your screen, typing away, updating CVs, endlessly.
And to add on that point, most of the internships don't have an actually job description, right? Take any startups. Of course, if they can have good interns, they'll take them, right? But they don't have the time or the resources to actually put a job openings and do the recruitment process, right? So pick a company that you like, and then it will be so easy to pitch. So first of all, I'm not an expert in recruitment. I hired a lot of people, I fired a lot of people, made a lot of mistakes. I think recruitment is probably one of the most complicated thing, right? The way I deal with people, I try to be natural. It's a bit like, if I don't like the vibes, I just don't deal with you. Actually, there's one thing I often do. I tell people one of the perks of being your own boss, you don't have to hire people with an asshole, right? Usually, are you one? And if the person doesn't understand the joke, then, So I think I'm not a standard founder. So I'm definitely not diplomatic.
That's why he comes to the show.
Yeah.
For Tommy, I heard that you applied to like 200 roles, especially like during the semester, March to May. And I was wondering, as a person who's applying myself, applying to 200 roles seems insurmountable. So I'm gonna ask you, what did you do to be able to balance your school life and your career searching? Or did you have a way to automate it?
The first thing when I first got into HKUST is that I got very stressed on, dealing with homework, assignment, midterms, quizzes, especially when they come day after day. And so at that point, I was really a bit scared of opening Outlook because I was so scared to see another assignment and quiz pop up again. And with this question, I asked one of my professor when I was having lunch with him, and he said, there's just two ways to deal with it. Either you have your priority right, or you ditch things that are not important to you. And so that means a lot to me. I heard a TED talk, and it's from a Harvard graduate, and he drew a theme diagram, and it's sleep, fun, and study. And so he say you can only have 2 out of the 3 things. And so you can either have fun or sleep, or study and also have fun. And so you gotta sacrifice something, but you need to know what matters least for you, so you can sacrifice the thing that you don't need to.
What are final tips for anyone right now watching this and still feeling frustrated with the whole job scene?
I think rather than being frustrated on the job market, you got to know what you want to do. At one point, I was having midlife crisis now. Quarter life crisis.
You don't
It's
have a
also pretty
midlife
common.
crisis. You're not even mid there yet.
How
No.
do you feel about that?
He's very young. Actually, I forgot, how old are you?
19.
There you go. You're not even middle. Come on.
Yeah,
Not
and
even
and up to a point that I was thinking every single night, like, what do I actually want, and what do I see myself in the future?
You know what? You now have one more podcast link to add to your resume and say, this is something that most of the other peers that might not be doing. You are doing something different. For Aurelian, any closing words for people who are looking to maybe explore the startup world for opportunities?
I think it makes more sense to not applying to 200. I mean, it's tedious, like 200, 500. If it's too easy to apply, it means the pile of CVs they're going to receive is like 5,000. They will never look at your CV.
Yep.
So spend some time on what Tommy mentioned. Find the real 10, 20 companies that you want to work for, and actually go in person. Literally. I mean, I think that's what I would do. Unless it's like a very corporate, but if it's like marketing or something a bit creative, be original and actually go in person, because nobody does that, right? So you have to somehow stand out. Otherwise, yeah, your CV will just be pie like this. And actually, no HR looks at CV anymore, right? So you're literally wasting your time. And the problem, and I've seen that a lot, they apply and say, oh, I'm looking for jobs. I apply. LinkedIn jobs, apply. Oh, apply. And then, today I really research a lot. And then you just wait, and you gave the ball to the recruiter, but you actually didn't play. So
And with that, thanks for watching the Firefly Show. And we hope you get some inspo from Tommy and Aurelian. And that's it.